Hey, good morning. It's your Missed Pattern Report. Dr. Bob Flower, your host. And today is Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Um, and my Valentine is still in Arizona. I'm here in New York, back in New York with a lot of you lovely folks. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about today. Let's start off with the market. Um, Last week, we had a hit on our S&P. That was fine. Uh, we had called for an up move on last Wednesday, which occurred. Our silver call, however, we had right range, wrong altitude. We the day we hit a move on the day. It was about a almost 1.5% move. But we incorrectly called it move direction. So we're working on that pattern. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so and this week we're looking at some moves with silver tomorrow, the or Thursday the 16th. The S&P Wednesday and Thursday, and the 19th, which would be Sunday actually, perhaps into Monday, and the potential for those days for the S&P is about 68%, 67, and about 2/3% on the upside. Okay, and the same thing with the silver. This market, by the way, this run up should continue till the end of February, probably around the first week of March, the week of the 5th. I think we're going to see a pretty sharp reversal here. So we're going to keep an eye open, but we are continuing to look for an up market. Oil is of course in the news, and we may well hit that $122 level very soon. That we had talked about at the beginning of the year. Um, and I want to talk to you about, for those of you who are pattern and cycle lovers and chartists and whatnot, I want to talk to you about one of the formats that we're using with the master pattern that may be of interest to you, that you can test yourself, because in many cases it's been working out very well. And here's what we have. By the way, we're going to, as usual, this is a little chart here on silver. Janet, if you can get a quick look here. If you can see here, when you go to the website, there's a move here. This is the 16th, February 16th, a move in silver, which very well would be a significant one. But here's the process that we've been following. You take two moves of a particular commodity or stock. Let's say in this instance silver, and they could be up moves or down moves. It doesn't matter. Take two significant moves and take the time between those moves. And by time, I'm talking about not necessarily days, but degrees. So you have a chart on a 360-degree wheel, and on June 1st, it's at 90 degrees. June 21st, it's at 90 degrees. Okay, and then on September 1st, it is 120 degrees. So the difference there is 30 degrees. If the price difference between those dates is 30 degrees, is 30 in any event, you will then have a major move. And that major move will be inverse to whatever the original move was. Now, is that clear? Okay, so once again, go to the website, because it will be clear on the website. What I'm saying to you is this: if between two major moves there's a price differential of 100 points, and the time period between those two are 100 days, what you do is you use 100 as your calculating factor for the next move. In other words, 100 days, 100 degrees from the last major move will predict the next move. Okay? And this works very, very well. It's not 100%, but in some cases it is. There are some cycles that we've had here. You'll notice a couple of times I've been very, very confident about certain periods with silver because as of now, every move in that particular cycle has been an up move. So we're very confident about that. And we don't know how long that will continue, but for as long as it has continued, it's been successful. So look into that, try that. We're going to put this up on the website. Get into it and see what you like about it. Very, very effective. Okay. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about economics. What's happened since last week, since I returned? Well, Romania collapsed. The government is kaput, gone. All right. Hungary is on its way out and very close to the same fate. Italy and Portugal, not only have 34 banks in Italy been downgraded, but Italy itself, as well as Portugal, has been downgraded. France and Austria and Spain are on the block here, and we're going to see some downgrading there. Some interesting news relative to that. George Soros said that the Greek debt should not be, interest rates should not be escalated, that's only going to hurt things. That's because he's holding a lot of the debt, and that means he's going to take a bigger haircut. He's going to have to take less in his debt the higher the rate is. So George is not too happy with Germany and Merkel, and saying some very nasty things about Merkel because she's taking the power away from them. More on that. All right. So now, and incidentally, with Greece, I mean, I think this is a classic example of what we're talking about on the difference between Main Street and Wall Street. In this analogy, using Greece, Wall Street is the lenders coming in and taking advantage of the situation and charging the high rates, and they're going to do very well. Main Street are those riots. What is happening with the people there? They're going down the tubes, and they're fighting, literally fighting in the streets. Now, I mean, this is something that I think we will see here. Maybe not to that degree, maybe not fire bombs and stuff like that, and possibly, but not as widespread, because Greece, of course, is a small country. But we will see that. And I'll tell you, I mean, you know, this is a anthological factor that's happening with our country, insofar as economic history is concerned. That we're going down that road. I mean, you heard this before, but the reason is as follows, and this leads us into politics. Okay. The more you want to give, the harder it is to get back. Okay, and you finally end up at the point where you're giving so much and you're not balancing it off with the financial means to pay for it, that when it comes time to pay the piper, the money isn't there, so you have to naturally cut back. You have to say, sorry, no more health care benefits for this, no more Social Security for this or that, whatever. And you end up, as you're ending up now with Greece and the United Kingdom, and others that you're not hearing about, such as like in Iceland and Romania and soon Hungary, and some other Russian Federation, former Russian Federation nations. So uh, this is the fallacy of Keynesian economics taken to a political extent. All right, I'm not saying there's not a validity in Keynesian economics, but not the way it's being employed right now by the liberal politicians. Okay, it doesn't it doesn't work. It can't. The debt is too great. You're discouraging people with money to make more money, or even to stay in business, move their business out. Expatriation has been huge in this country over the past 10 years. I mean, I think there's a lot of business people that have retired to Panama and not necessarily Nicaragua, but Belize and Costa Rica. It doesn't work. The doers are being overshadowed by the takers and the non-doers. So that's what's going on in the country right now. And I remember I've said a number of times about this is a great time in history. Well, the one thing that people are not aware of is that historical times are usually depicted by a single event. You know, Japanese and Pearl Harbor, 9/11, things of this sort. But it's the background that leads to that. That's part of the history. That's just like the culmination of historical events, right? And that's what's happening right now. For instance, freedom in America. People say, well, we're losing our rights. We are losing our rights. Little by little, there are little things. I mean, like I said the last time, I'm now being told what type of light bulbs I could put in my house or in my office. I mean, what kind of bull crap is that? Now we're being told what kind of food we have to feed our children. Pretty soon it's what kind of food that we will or will not be able to eat or to grow. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. What kind of reports do we have to file, even if we don't work, even if we're not in business anymore? I have clients that are excuse me, that's God calling, and I just can't take it right now. Excuse me for 1 minute, folks. Thank you. I have clients who are moved out of the state of New York, and they're being pursued by New York State taxation because they haven't proved that they're no longer residents, and they have to show that they don't belong to a club anymore. They don't. Their address is different. Their driver's licenses and their you name it. Their phone bills, their cell phones. I mean, if they kept a New York cell phone and they're in Illinois or Florida, or whatever. I mean, it's to the point where it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous, and we're being played like jerks. And this is not exclusively a Democratic thing or a Republican thing. It's a political thing, all right? And you got to keep in mind that the politicians, that the founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, were not very big on political parties. Because if you remember, back in the initial stages of our republic, when they had elections for president, the way it worked is you just had your name up there, and the person with the largest amount of vote was president. The person with the second amount of greatest votes was vice president, and so on and so forth. No such thing as parties, and when they attached themselves to some sort of movement, everybody got nervous. Well, that's gone. That's gone. And right now, it's all a matter of political control. You don't have much of a choice as to who is going to be your president. I know. I mean, look at the current situation. You only have one choice in the Democrats because he's the president, and you've had 7 or 8 on the Republican side, but it became a political game there because more money and the better the organization. I mean, um, you know, at this point, Santorum may end up being the nominee, but it's very doubtful. Why? Number one, he doesn't have the money. Number two, and more importantly, he doesn't have the organization. Romney has the organization. And that's why, I mean, Santorum could become the designee. Personally, I doubt it. But Romney has the organization. And that's what you need today to win. You need the money and the organization. Um, you don't even need a personality. That's the way it is. Um, and that's too bad. That's too bad. This is what we digress to. Now, what we need to do in order to get this and let's talk just a little bit about the real estate, because we're about to see another big hit in real estate thanks to this idiotic $26 billion bailout. They're going to give $2,000 to people who have lost their homes. Well, if you're one of those people that are struggling to keep a good credit and pay your mortgage on your house, there isn't too much that you can hope for. You can hope for possibly that they'll negotiate a reduction in payment. But let me ask you a question. If you were a bank and you were put through the regulations like Dodd-Frank, that the government and the penalties that the government is putting forth, would you want to put your money out at 4%, 4.5%, 3.5%? I wouldn't. I wouldn't go through that, and with the risk that I may never be able to recover it because the foreclosure laws say that you've been abusive. Nonsense. Today it takes 3 people to make a story: the government, the lender, and the borrower. And I'm sure a lot of you know the borrowers are just as guilty with what went on with real estate mortgages as anybody else. Okay, and the government, in addition to the policies they tried to set forth, the other issue with them was that they didn't do oversight. They didn't do their job. That's one of the reasons why we ended up where we were. To ask Wall Street or the bankers to do self-oversight is kind of difficult. Goes back to the original question, philosophical issue. Can mankind regulate himself? The answer is clearly no. Not in bad, at least not financially. They can't. So what happens here is that politics, of course, has taken over our lives, and more so each day and each week that goes by. I personally do not believe in any way in the liberal concept of governance. Chief Justice Bader, I think, insulted every American in that interview that she did a couple of weeks ago when she said I wouldn't model my country. She told Egypt would model their constitution after the United States Constitution. I would model it after South Africa. Well, I looked at South Africa's constitution, and it's nothing but a liberal butt wipe. I mean, everything is you're entitled to everything. Of course, they don't talk about where the money's going to come from. I mean, they're going to sell some of that diamond and those diamonds and gold. Is the government going to take over the mines and gold fields and sell it into the market? Well, that might be a way of doing it if you can't do that. I don't think they can, but no. I would challenge any liberal thinker to a debate on any issue, be it social, economic, political, as to the merits of liberal thinking. It, it in natural intelligence terms, it doesn't work. It does not work. And the simple reason is, well, there's two reasons. Number one, it does not emphasize the development of potential by the individual. In fact, it negates it. That's exactly what happens. Every liberal will say to you that it's a right. Things are a right. Healthcare is a right. Your rent checks are a right. Now, that doesn't help you. That doesn't help you develop your potential. That doesn't help the nation to develop its potential. So, and it's always on the other guy, such as with the government today wants the rich. I mean, it's just such a stupid, ignorant argument that they're putting forth. I mean, it's an insult to me to even have to waste my time to discuss it. It's so obvious and so stupid how they're talking about being fair and just. I mean, how can you say that when half of the people in this country are bearing the burden totally of the other half, and then you're saying they're not doing their fair share? I mean, that to me is the ultimate in stupidity, and any man who espouses that is equally as stupid. And again, I will debate it with right on this show. We'll do a streaming thing. I don't care, moderated, unmoderated. I don't care how big. Alan Combs, I hope you get this. I hope somebody sends you a copy of this, because I will debate your concept of liberal governance, especially in the area of economics, social economics, or business economics, and capitalism, anytime, any place. And it's not even a contest. Not even a contest. I mean, the logic is not there. The premises upon which we are now befalling our governance are weak. That's why Europe is going the way it is. Even the United Kingdom. I mean, there's a nation that's what, 1,100 years old? Been around forever. I mean, look at the problems they're having there. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to collapse, but damn it, they'll collapse before we do. I mean, they've got horrible problems there, and a lot of them are social problems. So, what we need to do is we need to look at this whole notion of how we're governed. Now, let me tell you about an idea I have. I've been thinking about this, as to what do we do? I mean, the Tea Party had its movement, the Occupy people have their movement or whatever. How do we get these people on board? How do we get control of our own destiny? How do we get control of the politicians? Well, I've been thinking about this. And of course, term limits goes a long way, and I've been very active in the term limit movement, having been the key figure in the fourth largest city in New York State in having them implemented. And when they were attacked twice thereafter, I was the head of the movement to stop them from overthrowing the term limits proviso. It's not the answer, but I think there is something that we can do that we don't need help doing. All we need is each other. Okay, and it's simply this. Very simple philosophy. We throw everybody out of office. Throw them all out. Put in somebody else. Throw them out. Put in somebody else. Throw them. Every election, we throw out the incumbent. This would be an alternate term limit program. Right? We can even call it ALT. Right? So that the message is that here's our preamble. This is what we stand for. We stand for term limits, for one thing, okay? And we stand for a dissolution of the way in which Congress functions fiscally. For instance, these pensions and health plans that they have, these free credit cards that they get, whether even if they're only in Congress for 2 years. We set up a preamble that says, no, you cannot do this. We're not going to tolerate this. And also we're going to have term limits, and also your benefits, okay, your travel benefits, your perks. No, 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 no. All right, we throw you out of office until Congress, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives, all agree to our preamble. Now, I think that we can get not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. I think we can get millions of people at this point to sign on to such an undertaking, such a premise. Right? And all it would take is the design of this preamble and a signature by individuals to abide by this concept. Right. So we all sign up, and we have millions of signatures on a petition. We send them around. But further, when the elections come up, out. I don't care. And this has to be nonpartisan, bipartisan, whatever non-sectarian, sectarian. I mean, there's no other issues here except that we throw them out, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or conservative or independent. Out the door they go until such time as our preamble, our constitutional declaration is enforced and put into effect in the halls of federal government. Okay, let me hear from you on this. I think it's very simple. The concept has been around, but I think the effectiveness of this, especially if we all sign on to something like this, with an end result, a package that we want to do away, the change that we want to see, not that they're talking about it, they can't deliver. This is what we want. It'll be our way of term limiting and controlling. Okay? Let's have a discussion about this, because I think that this has great merit, and I think it would be a real threat to the status quo and to these politicians who are running and ruining our lives. Okay? This has been an extended version of our show. I hope you enjoy it. Please go to our website. Our books are selling well. I think I told you my last book, which has not come out yet. The publishing rights have been sold to a Russian publisher in Russia, so that our books are now being published in 5 different countries. And we're very proud of that. Natural intelligence is something that's starting to take a foothold. You can go to our www.bobflower.com is it bobflower.com, Jen, or is it Dr. Bob Flower? Dr. Bob, DRBOBFLOWER.com, and you'll find out more about the concept of natural intelligence and reality on another level. Hey, listen, have a great weekend. It's great to be back in New York, my sweetheart. We'll be back this Sunday, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot.